Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. Super excited to have you guys today. Happy New Year. 2022 is afoot. So, makes sense. We're going to go over the 2022 Restoration Business Internet Marketing Plan on how you as a restoration business owner can maximize your leads and sales from the web. I'm really excited. So who am I and why should you listen to me at all? Well, my name is Benjamin Riccardi. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've owned and worked in a ton of different industries. I've got a construction background. I love entrepreneurship. I love the whole process of starting a business, running a business, and making things come to fruition. Some have been successes, some have been failures, but that's part of the game and part of why I love it so much. I am the founder of Ironclad Restoration Marketing. So if you're coming to us from Ironclad Restoration Marketing's YouTube or our Instagram, I'm always putting videos on there every single day, providing a lot of value to restoration business owners out there, showing them how to actually get their sales right by doing their internet marketing the way they should be doing. I am an author of the No Bullshit Guide to Internet Marketing for restoration contractors. Actually, it's funny. I am working on version 2 of this. I published this last January, and there's been so many changes between Google algorithms and things that we've noticed have been working and not working for our clients that I'm already on version 2 that we're going to launch actually in the next couple weeks here. So look out for that on Amazon or the Kindle version. It's a step-by-step guide for everything you need related to digital marketing for your restoration business. I'm the host of this podcast. Obviously, I'm the only one here today. Today, I'm going to run you guys through this entire podcast alone, but we are going to have a ton of special guests as we move on, including owners of some of the most successful restoration businesses. I'm going to have some of the employees on from Ironclad Restoration Marketing, insurance agents that deal with the restoration industry, just to help you guys. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast and what we do at Ironclad Restoration Marketing. What I did with the book is to help restoration business owners grow their business the right way. I have spoken at a lot of industry events and trade shows. I love to talk. Anybody that knows me knows this is what I love to do, being on stage, talking and helping people. Ran a charity recently, and I still do. We help children that are affected and their families that are affected by cancer. One of my favorite things to do is talk to the community and get out there. So I'm really in my element when I'm on a stage or behind a microphone or in front of a camera. I do hold a leadership role in a few different business networking groups because I think it all lends into each other. And I work with restoration business owners, indoor air quality business owners, and public adjusters across the whole United States, helping them get more leads and sales from the internet. If anybody that knows me, besides liking to talk, I really like to help people. And this business, the book, the podcast, all allow me to thrive and help people do things the right way. Because another thing, if somebody knows me, I get really pissed off with how much misinformation is out there and how restoration business owners, construction guys, any kind of home service companies get ripped off a lot when it comes to digital marketing. So today is all about that. Making a plan. You got to have a plan, and it's 2022 already. So if you've been struggling in 2020, the COVID year, 2021, I guess the perpetual COVID thing that's going on, hopefully at the end of this podcast, you're going to have a good idea of what you need to do to be successful in this industry and get leads. And because this is what I do, my mission, the mission of the podcast, the mission of my business is we want to triple the sales of over 1,000 restoration contractors across the US and Canada. So we'll get right into it. Today, what we're going to cover is we're going to set some goals for your restoration business. We're 5th of January. It's already started. You probably should have already been doing this stuff for the last couple of weeks. But, if you didn't and you're here, the first thing we're going to do, and we always want to do, is set goals, because without clear goals, you're losing that wind in your sails. You really have no metric to measure success. So we're going to start off with that. We're going to go over some of the fundamentals of just marketing in general, specific to the restoration industry. We're going to just give you a macro overview of this stuff. And as we release new episodes, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of these things so you guys can get the most out of this. And then we're going to talk about the big 3, but the most important online marketing channels that you need to be tapping into in order to get those leads in for your restoration business. So whether you need water damage leads or mold or everything in between, hopefully at the end of this podcast, you're going to have a good idea of what to do. So I got a question. This is rhetorical because you can't answer me back, but what has been the hardest part about marketing your restoration business online? Now, I talked to a few of our clients, potential clients over the years. The answer that I get the most out of it is there's a lot of options out there, and they're really just unclear of where to spend their marketing budget, or actually how much money to even spend on marketing. And I get it. I put myself in your shoes. I've been there before. So, you either have a situation where you have not had consistency in your marketing. You might be the guy that bounces around and never really gives anything a solid shot. You always have that shiny new object syndrome. So you're moving around from company to company. You've been taken advantage of. Listen, let's face it. You guys are, provide a home service. You're really good at property damage remediation. Some of you might be really good at online marketing. I commend you. We have a lot of clients that are whizzes and know this stuff like the back of their hand. If you've gotten my book, you probably do too, because I've taught you how to do it. But for the most part, you guys are focusing on getting more jobs, making sure those jobs are going off without a hitch, managing your employees, and trying to get paid. So, you rely on these agencies that sometimes take advantage of that fact, and they rely on the ambiguity of the services, specifically digital marketing, to kind of take advantage of people. So if you have watched my videos or you've seen on my Instagram stuff, when I'm really ticked off on a video, that's usually why. It's because I just got done talking to somebody and it's like, dude, they've been taken to the cleaners, or they've been lied to, and I hate that. So, and if you've run a business for a long time, or hey, you might just be starting out, it's just starting into the restoration business, it takes a major investment in marketing. It costs a lot of money. I'm sorry, but the competition is high, depending on your region. But most of the time, property damage restoration leads, there's a lot of competition for them. They're big ticket items. So, you a lot of times are left with nothing to show for it, right? So either whether you're the guy that I just mentioned that bounces around from agency to agency, or you've been just unlucky dealing with agencies that are just taking you to the cleaners and you're not getting anything out of it. At the end of the day, you're not getting that ROI that you really need. And, whether you're just starting out or you're making millions and millions of dollars a year with your business, every dollar counts. Okay. So today we're going to look into an opportunity, because there is an opportunity that exists for you, especially if you're here right now. It means you've taken a serious look at your business and you know that you've got to make some changes, or you just want to optimize and make things better. So I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to go over a plan. So if you have a goal, you have a clear plan, you have targets that you need to hit, and we're going to talk specifically about your revenue, your yearly revenue, and you have KPIs, those key performance indicators, you're really going to have the success that you want, because you are setting a goal, you're tracking it, you're measuring it, and then you're going to optimize it. It's no different than losing weight. So, hey, look, we're in the new year. The resolutions are coming around. Everybody wants to drop that weight. The gym owners are wearing 50,000 gold chains because their memberships have jumped up by 300%. And it's no different than losing weight, right? So you have a goal, you want to lose weight. And every week you're going to get on that scale and you're going to check into yourself. And some weeks you're going to be losing weight and you're on track, and you're on track. Some weeks you might not be, so that you get to reflect back and say, hey, what happened here to make me not lose the weight that I wanted to lose, or whatever. But if you never step on the scale, you don't really have a goal, and you just have this blanket thing and says, I want to lose weight, you're probably, number one, you're probably not going to be successful. Number two, how are you even going to know if you're successful at all? So we're going to look at your restoration business and we're going to make a plan. All right. We are going to create a goal. We're going to create a plan. We're going to set those clear goals, because clear goals are wind in your sails, right? So to get the success that you want, you got to have goals. And I'll show you something that I do a lot, and I always reference this, is this Harvard study from '79. They interviewed graduates, their outgoing graduating class. 84% of that class, so if there's 100 of them, 84 of those people did not have specific goals. And it's a lot like a lot of college kids, or a lot of us in general. You've got a lot of businesses and business owners that are just like, I just want to own this business, I want to make money. That's not really specific. But 13% had goals. They just didn't write them down. They had it in their head. Hey, I want to do $1 million a year. I want to have this X, Y, or Z job. And they didn't write them down. But only 3 out of that 100 had clear written down goals with a plan to actually accomplish them. So an execution plan. And guess what happened? The 13% of the class, so the 13 out of the 100 who had the goals, they just kind of didn't have anything written down, no plan. They just knew, hey, this is the track I'm going to be on. We're earning double what the other 84 were earning. All right. But even bigger than that, the 3 people out of the 100 that had their goals, they had them written down, they had a plan to execute them, were earning sometimes up to 10 times the amount as the other 97 people put together. So if you apply that to your restoration business, you can see how important it is to have these goals written down, have a plan to execute the goals, and actually follow through with those and track yourself, you're going to be making a hell of a lot more money. And more so, you're going to know where within that process that you failed or didn't fail to whether it's going to be reaffirming that you're on the right track, or hey, it's time to optimize. All right. So as a restoration business owner and you're here listening to this, what are your goals for 2022? If you're listening on the podcast, streaming, you're probably driving or listening on your phone, don't write anything down. Just think about this and reference this video next. But you really want to make sure that you have some sort of clear goal for 2022. Now, for the purpose of this podcast, we're going to talk about revenue. But there's also some sub goals that you can have within that revenue that really directly attribute to growing that revenue or shrinking the revenue. So you got to have written goals and plans. And you should be setting a yearly goal, quarterly goal, monthly. We have weekly goals here at Ironclad to really just kind of do a health check. You need to have a stopping point at the beginning and the end of each year, each month, each quarter, or each week to see how you're doing so you can measure the results, and then you can optimize them and continue to move forward the way you should be doing for your business. All right. So we want to set those goals, whether it's revenue. We want to execute a plan on how to achieve those goals, marketing. We want to measure the results. These are monthly meetings. You're talking to your agency. You're talking to your marketing manager. You are tracking where your jobs are coming from. And then you're going to optimize based off those results. Sounds pretty simple. And it really is if you take the time to go through this exercise and put down your goals and put a plan of action on how to get there. So what are your goals for 2022? Let's talk about revenue, right? You want to do 1 million. You want to do 5 million. I will say I love guys that swing for the fences, but if you're just starting out in the industry, hey, maybe you do have like an astounding marketing budget and you've got these high aspirations. When you're writing these goals down, let's be realistic, okay? Something that's attainable. You don't want to sit there and say, well, we're just starting. I've got myself in this van and I'm going to do $6 million in sales this year. It's unlikely. Just because of everything that comes with it. You got to hire people. You got to have infrastructure in your business operations to be able to make that happen. But let's be realistic. Set some realistic goals for yourself. Write that number down. And then you want to break that down into how much that equates to on a quarterly basis. You want to break it down to see what it's going to mean on a monthly basis. And if you want to really get into it, a weekly basis. I mean, the more you dive into this, the more you can make little changes and tweaks here and there as you're tracking it to make sure that you're going to meet or beat your expectations for the year. So let's say you did $500,000 last year and you want to hit up to $1 million. So you want to add a truck or maybe two to your fleet to do your property damage restoration. You want to hit $1 million in sales, and your average net job value, I'm just pulling numbers out of the sky. Every one of your numbers are going to be different. All of you have different overhead. You all live in different areas. The insurance paid different everywhere. But let's just say it's $5,000, right? Your average job value. That means you need to do around 17 jobs per month. All right. So that's one thing you're going to take. And then you're going to break it down even further from there. You're going to think about a few things. Okay. And these are all things that you can add to your goals, right? So look at things like, what is your close rate percentage when somebody does call you? All right. What do your web conversions look like? So you have a website and people find your website and then they pick up the phone and call you. How many of those jobs are you closing? And then are you having an issue getting paid? So you have to take all that stuff into consideration. And it may sound like common sense, and hopefully it is common sense, but I can't tell you how many people miss the buck on this in every single type of industry. I've been there. So these are tried and true. So you need to understand how those metrics affect the amount of revenue and jobs that you need to bring in to hit that revenue. So if you're closing and converting, let's say you want to hit that revenue target and you got to hit 10 mold jobs a month, and you're only converting and closing like 30% of those jobs. That means you're going to need like 35 calls a month. So you got to take that into consideration when you're developing a marketing budget, or when you are looking at different ways and how to bring those calls in. So a couple things that you need to keep in the back of your head while you're writing these goals down is, how are you going to get those calls, number one? And that's what we're going to go over today. How we're going to get that phone ringing a little bit. We're going to give you a basic overview of all that stuff, what you need to be doing. And this is, again, based off of what we do for our clients here and what's working and what's not working. So as a digital marketing agency, our success is directly tied to our customer success. So all we do here, a big part of what we do outside of the education, outside of the day-to-day work, is figuring out how we're going to optimize our results for our clients to grow our business. All right. So, when you're looking at your revenue goals, your yearly, quarterly, monthly, whatever, one thing I really want you to concentrate on, and this is based off, just dealing with you guys a lot, is look on how you can improve your web conversions, and we will talk about that today. And look how we can improve your business operations to improve those closing. How fast are you following up with people? Do you have somebody dedicated answering the phone? If you offer 24/7 emergency service as your unique selling point, make sure you're answering that damn phone 24/7. And I'm telling you, it happens a lot where they don't. So, having an infrastructure in place is a big part of, achieving your goals here. So we're going to dive right into it. All right. We're going to give you a little bit of a basic marketing 101 kind of deal here. And we're going to talk about the biggest part of starting your online success. And that's looking at your market, your message, and your media. Your market being who you're trying to market to. You got to know that. You got to look at things through the eyes of the person that you're trying to market to be able to know how to market to them. Then you're going to craft a message that's going to resonate with who that person is. So once you develop who, we're going to look at the what, which is how you're going to talk to them and what you're going to say to get them to choose you over your competition. And then media is really the vehicle that you're going to use to drive that message home and target your target market. All right. And really what we're talking about with media right now, we're going to start with the website, and then all the other different omni-channel that you should be concentrating on for your restoration business. And here at the Restoration Rundown at my agency, we preach, we eat, sleep, and drink the ironclad restoration marketing's digital omnipresence method for the maximum flow of leads to your restoration business. We talk about being digitally omnipresent. It's an omni-channel approach, meaning you don't want to put all your eggs into one basket. You need to be everywhere, okay? And digitally. So you want to have a presence. You need to have a website. You need to be dominating page 1 of Google with SEO, pay-per-click, Google My Business. You got to be getting reviews. You got to be active on social media. You got to be an active member of the Industry Association. So as many digital channels and quite frankly, tangible channels that you could put your business on, the likelier you are to be found by people who need property damage restoration. All right. So if you've in the past, you just concentrate, oh man, we get all our leads from referrals from this real estate agent. Well, what happens when that real estate agent moves? Or if you're using a plumbing company, what happens when they find somebody else that's going to do it cheaper? What happens when they come into a contract with ServPro? All that stuff needs to be taken into consideration. And that's why the omnipresence method is the best bet, because you're casting such a wide net that if something goes down, you have other things to supplement it. And that just makes sense, right? So let's take a look at who we're selling to, your market. Who is your ideal customer? Because until you understand that, you're really going to have a hard time touching on their pain points and really marketing to that person. So we're briefly going to talk about that. Who are you speaking to with your website? Who are you speaking to in your social media posts? Who are you speaking to with your blogs, right? You want to make sure you're addressing their pain points and then craft that messaging around all that. Think about things like what your USP is, your unique selling point. What makes you the best choice over your competition, right? Do you have 5-star Google rating? Licensed and insured, I hope. So looking at who your ideal customer is, a lot of you guys out there, it's pretty simple. You're looking for homeowners with property damage, right? You are trying to have, business-to-business relationships with property managers or insurance companies or plumbers and roofers. But either way, whatever the case may be, each one of those different people and different target and different customers is going to have their own type of fear, right? For the most part, the generic ones, and it's going to be different for everybody, but really people are afraid to get ripped off. They're afraid to have their house, left in a worse condition. They're afraid to be overcharged, and they don't want to wait. Look, we live in a microwave society. It's all about as fast as possible, getting there as quickly as possible. And people do, that is something, and they don't want to be inconvenienced, right? They want it the easiest, fastest, cheapest way possible. And you have to take that into consideration if you want to market to these people and get them to choose you. All right. So you figured out who your target market is. Now we got to see how we're going to talk to those people to address those pain points and make them choose you over your competition. All right. What's your message? Why should someone choose to do business with you versus your competition? And there's a lot of competition out there for you guys in the restoration industry. So a few things that you should include on your website, and this is also a business dev kind of thing. Just shows that you're building a level of trust. You have to build trust. You're going into somebody's home. Usually it's during some catastrophic property damage situation. So you need to build a level of trust and show them that you're there to help and you're going to get them through it without making it worse. So showcasing your 5-star Google rating on your website, getting those Google reviews is huge. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Joining your industry associations is part of the omnipresence method. You're showing them that you take your business seriously and you are an active member in a national or regional restoration association. You offer 24/7 emergency services. I've seen guys say, hey, we've got under an hour response time. Those are all things that are going to help people choose you. And you're basically just showing off the benefits that people have when they choose you over your competition. I mean, this is basic stuff, guys. This is marketing 101. But it's important for your restoration business, and more important when we're talking about digital marketing and the type of messaging that you're going to want to craft for your website. All right. So, if you offer same-day service, most of you guys offer emergency services. People want that. You're giving straightforward pricing. You're not doing the old bait and switch. And I know a lot of times it's hard to stick to that. So you can decide what works best for you. Making sure you tell people you're fully licensed and insured. That's kind of a big deal. And that your technicians are experienced and trustworthy. And a really cool way to do that, and what I implore you all to do on your website, is use authentic images. Everybody's seen the stock photos of the technician with his thumbs up, or the family that's hugging on the couch because their mold is gone. Man, use authentic images. You should be documenting all your projects. Keep your website, your market, and your message and your media in mind when you are performing these remediation jobs, because that stuff is worth its weight in gold. And you'll see as we move on in this podcast how that stuff can be leveraged on your Google business page, on your social media page, and more so on your website. All right. Speaking of website, well, we know who you're talking to. We know what we're going to say to them to get them to take action. Now, how do we display that? Well, your website's how we're going to do that. And let's take a look. Your website is the window into your business. It's usually, nowadays, it's the first thing people are going to take a look at when they're trying to find a company, any company or product or service. I mean, think about this. If you've looked for a restaurant, you've looked for a product, you've looked for a service in the last few years, there's a really good chance that you went onto a search engine and did it. You didn't call your buddy and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody to, a place to go get a pizza. Maybe you did, but most of the time you're going to go into a search engine, right? And you have to remember that your website is your media hub. So all your project documentation, all the information, all your USP, your messaging, everything that you're crafting together with your marketing plan starts with your website. If you don't have a website, you might as well not exist as a company. And look, I know a lot of restoration companies that they're making millions of dollars a year just off referrals and stuff. But just think about how much money they could be making if they properly set up their website and they use other channels to bring in that revenue, because those referrals could go away so quickly. I can't overstate that. You got to remember the first impressions last. You can't hobble up to somebody's house dressed like crap, cigarette hanging out of your mouth, stinking like whiskey, knocking on the door after their kitchen caught on fire. They're most likely going to run you off their property, or at least I would. So your website's like the same thing, man. If you've done all this work to get people to come to your website and you've ranked well on the search engines and you've done all this stuff we're going to talk about today, and they go to your website and you just got some crappy website with not really a lot of info and you don't look the part, they're going to just bounce right off and they're going to the next guy that's online. All right. So you got to make sure you have a professional looking website, right? You want a device responsive website. I'm going to talk about mobile optimization and all that stuff in a second here, but it's really important to have a professional looking website because it all starts here. And one thing I want to touch on is if you already have a website, great. This is going to apply to anybody, whether you're about to build a website or you have one already, you've been struggling or you've been doing well. A lot of people ask, and it comes up a lot, and I've seen it so many times, what platform do I build a website on, right? And the big ones, there's so many like free website builders out there between Wix, GoDaddy, Weebly. I mean, and you see the commercials all over the place because the COVID thing kind of forced a lot of people to step back and then start their own businesses and stuff like that. And out come the wolves, right? You've got people that are advertising, building with these platforms and stuff like that. And then you've got WordPress. So we'll just look at the big ones. What's better, WordPress versus Wix? And I'll preface this to say, I'm looking at this from a digital marketing perspective, right? I have a veil of SEO over my eyes. So when we're looking at what is going to be the best platform to build a website on, I'm looking at it from the lens of what platform is going to give us the best results for our clients. All right. And it is hands down, without a doubt, WordPress. Okay. So we've compared side by side. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this, but 50% of the web is powered by WordPress versus 7% powered by Wix. WordPress is free. Wix is a service that costs money. And remember what I said about services, they can go away just like that. All right. 46%, and this number, these are last year's numbers. They're getting ready to release new numbers as far from a search engine, all the people that do that kind of analytics and data. But last year, 46% of WordPress websites were getting search traffic. That's huge, right? Given the fact that there's so many different websites out there versus 1.4% of Wix sites. WordPress and Wix are both user-friendly. Look, if they're giving you a free page builder and a website builder, listen, it doesn't take rocket science to build a website anymore. There's just been so many advances in the technology of development. It's great, but you still, with WordPress, any developer worth their salt, any marketing agency is going to know how to operate on WordPress. And again, it's an open source platform. It's built for what Google wants. All right. So it's very SEO friendly. So if you are spending money on digital marketing, or you're thinking about doing it, or you are doing it, that it's a lot of money. So you got to make sure that you're, giving yourself the best advantage from a CMS or your content management system platform. And I always am going to say WordPress. In fact, in our agency, I don't care how big your marketing budget is. If you come to us with a Wix website, the first thing we're going to say is we need to build you a new website. And it's not for us, it's for you. So when people are coming to me and saying, how do we get more leads? And we say, well, this is how you do it. We're not going to work with people that aren't going to trust the process and the system. Because if you follow us and you follow along, that our goal and our success is tied to your success. So we're not going to suggest anything that is not going to be in your best interest. And this may change over time, but right now, 100% of our clients are on WordPress. 95% of our clients are using our custom theming that's tried and true for web conversions. But there's so many plugins you can do. It makes SEO coming out the box. You set it up relatively quickly, and then you can just do your work. And again, for me, for being a digital agency owner, I can hand these websites to any developer that's worth their salt, and they can hit the ground running, and we don't have any kind of lapse. And if you're doing it yourself, it's kind of the same principle, right? So if you don't have the money to pay an agency to build you a website right off the bat, if you're going to learn anything, learn WordPress. And if you build your website on WordPress and you follow the principles like that are in my book, I show you step by step how to do it, what to put on the website. When you do get to a point when you are, when your budgeting allows a marketing budget to where now you can hire an agency, or now you can hire an in-house person, you can hand them this website and they're just going to hit the ground running. All right. You're not going to be able to do that with Wix. So I know it was a long-winded thing for the platform. I could have just said WordPress, but trust me, WordPress is the way to go. All right. So you have a website, or you're thinking about building a website. There's no reason to be building the website unless it can convert traffic, and you're not driving traffic to the website. So if you're not driving traffic to the website, then it's no different than just having a business card you don't show to anybody, right? So, we have to have everything we do, we want to do with a purpose. So when you're building a website, the purpose is to serve your business's goals, is to drive that revenue up to where you want to be so you can grow your business. And the only way to do that is to have a website that's built to convert traffic into leads, right? I don't want to say sales because, geez, if you don't have a good internal operations, or you answer the phone like an asshole, or you don't answer the phone at all, well, you can send as much traffic as you want to your website, but you're not going to get any jobs out of it, right? So, you got to take a lot of other things into consideration when it comes to this stuff. But you want to build a website that's built to convert. And what do we look at? Well, the big three for us, without diving super deep in any technical details, guys, get a professional looking logo done. Can't tell you how many clients or people we talk to, or companies I've seen, and you've seen them yourself, have a crappy logo. I just explained what would happen if you walked up to a house smelling like whiskey and looking like crap and driving some old beat up vehicle. Like, you wouldn't pull up to somebody's house like that and expect to get like a good first impression. And for your website being the virtual window into your business, make sure you have a professional looking logo. It's so cheap, and it's so important to do right in the get-go. And The one excuse I hear a lot is, hey, we already have all our vehicles wrapped. And I get it. That's a huge investment. But man, the little bit of pain that you'll experience right away just to stop being hard-headed and get a new logo, rewrap your vehicle, whatever, spend the money, it's worth it. It's worth it to build and grow your business, okay? And I see a lot of guys that are in business for 10 or 15 years, and then they're all of a sudden changing everything. And God, now you're changing invoicing. Now you're changing everything. So try to start off the bat with a nice professional looking logo. Ask some people. People will be honest with you. I'm honest with everybody. The first thing I do is ask somebody when we have a client coming in, let me see your logo. Because that's the jumping point for everything, right? Your colors, your vibe, how it looks. The worst thing in the world is having a really badass website. It's mobile responsive, and then you got some hunky dunk, clip art logo from 1996 off Microsoft Word. Okay, yeah, it costs you nothing, and you squeeze that lemon for all it was worth, but it's not doing you any favors, right, from a branding perspective. The other thing is, you're going to hear me talk about above the fold a lot. So for you guys that used to use newspaper machines, or maybe you still do, the above the fold stuff was all they put all the important information above where the newspaper was folded, right? And your website kind of want to treat it the same way. The above the fold on a website, when you go to a URL, you go to a website, it's what you see without having to scroll. And you want to have the most important stuff above the fold. You don't want to make people do any extra work to try to either get in touch with you, which is why you got to have a phone number. Your phone number should be like the first thing people see, and it needs to be clickable so they can click it and call. And then you can put those USPs above the fold, 24/7 emergency service, and then what you do. This is a very important part of your business, right? You don't want to make people have to scroll to see and make sure they're on the right website. Look, they came to your site, hopefully because you're ranking well in a search engine. They looked at your site. Don't make them do any extra work. Like, they came here because they have water damage. Bam, water damage restoration contractor. We have 24/7 emergency service, and here's our phone number. Click it and call us. If you want to learn more, there you go. Here's a nice looking menu. All right. So those are the big three for conversion that you want to at least at the minimum have on your site. So if you don't, at the end of this, I'm going to show you guys a link. I have a checklist that we developed. It's the ultimate internet marketing checklist for restoration contractors, but it'll go over a lot of this stuff so you can kind of make sure it's like a health check for your stuff. And I'll send you the link at the end of the podcast. All right. Now, a biggie, probably the biggest biggie that we're going to be talking about is optimizing your website for mobile devices. Common sense, guys. Mobile responsive websites are how you have to do it. And the common sense, why I say common sense is 90% of people are going to use a search engine to find a product or service. But now let's think about your market, who you're talking to, right? Who's the person that's coming to your website? Well, let's put yourself in the shoes of somebody like, we're in South Florida, we get nailed with hurricanes all the time. Well, some of the first things that happen when a hurricane blows through is you're going to lose power, you're going to lose Wi-Fi. So guess what? They're not going on a desktop computer to find you because they can't, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to pull out their phone, they're going to go to Google Chrome, or they're going to go to Safari, and Google is the native search engine on the phone. They're going to type in, storm damage restoration contractor near me. And if you are ranking well on a search engine, and the caveat to this is, if you're not mobile optimized, you will not be ranking well on a search engine. Google switched to a mobile first ranking a long time ago. So outside of the common sense stuff of what I'm talking about the phone, like, you're just not going to rank. So the chance that somebody finds you, the needle in a haystack, and you don't have a mobile site, you're forcing people to go to a website that's going to look all skewed because you're taking a site that's on a big browser and you're shrinking it down to a little phone or an iPad, most likely a phone. And, they're going to have to zoom to look at your text. Nothing's going to be there for them. So that's one of the big reasons that Google switched to mobile first indexing. So the same principles apply for conversion, right? You don't want to make them do any work. You want to be above the fold. So here's an iPhone. Here's that same website that we just showed you. Oop, wrong way. Here's the same website we just showed you, broke down into a mobile device, right? You have the same thing. You have your important information above the fold, professional looking website, clickable phone number, and what you do on a phone and an iPad. So you have to optimize for user experience on a phone. We live in a microwave society. People want it fast. They want it now. Don't make them do any work. Remember, think about your market. They're coming to you because they have property damage. Don't make it hard for them to get in touch with you. Put a clickable phone number right there. Okay. So a couple key takeaways for conversion. You got to make sure your website's speaking to your target customer. You want to make sure it's optimized for mobile, and you want to make sure you have those big three basics in order. You got to have your logo, phone number, and straightforward content with images and messaging. All right. Now we're going to get into it. The Holy Grail, the Holy Trinity, SEO, Google My Business or Google Maps, and pay-per-click. These are the three most important and at the minimum digital marketing channels that you need to be focusing on for your restoration business. SEO, search engine optimization, pay-per-click, and Google My Business. All right. SEO is the foundation of any digital marketing plan. Google My Business, the map section, should be melded right with SEO, because if you look at the anatomy of a search engine result, you're going to have ads at the top, maps in the middle, and organic results at the bottom. The ones that we love are the organic results and the Google My Business Maps results, because at some point when you do the work, those become non-paid. The ROI is through the roof. You can't even compare pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, you're paying for every click that comes to your website, hoping they convert, but they do get you leads right out the gate. But Google My Business, man, and SEO, if you can rank there and rank for all the keywords that you want to rank and all the locations that you want to be in, you are going to be killing it. All right. So we're going to look at SEO and why you need SEO for your restoration business. If you don't know already, SEO is super important for a restoration business, because when people are searching for what you do online, they have an immediate need. So ranking your website on page 1 of Google and taking over all that real estate is like the only way that you're going to get these leads coming in when somebody's looking online, right? These aren't people looking for a restaurant or a good pizza and checking out Yelp reviews. These are people that they got water pouring down on their head in their living room, or their kitchen's caught on fire, or they found mold in their bathroom. You might have talking to a property manager that's looking for somebody, and they just took over a property, and every single house on their property has got mold in it, right? So you don't want to make them work too hard to find you. You got to be number 1 on Google for everything that you do, and SEO is the way to do that. Remember what I said, 90% of people are using a search engine to find products or services, all right? Because if you're not on the first page of Google, you might as well not exist, right? So we always say the best place to hide a dead body is page 2 or 3 of the search engine results. It used to be I think only 30% of people clicked over to page 2. It's probably getting less and less. All right. And with that, Google's going to change up how they display things and everything. We don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about is taking care of your in-house stuff. And remember, this is a big one. SEO, there's no such thing as a guarantee. With with marketing in general, you can't guarantee anything. With SEO, it's even more specific, right? So beware of anybody that guarantees page 1 results. There's no way that you can guarantee page 1 results. We would never. And if you hear it, run away. I don't care if it's somebody's nephew that's some IT whiz. They can't guarantee page 1 results. I don't care who you are or what you do. You can't. And if you need any more proof, if you don't want to listen to me and you think I'm a big liar, go on Google and just search, can someone guarantee page 1 rankings? It says it right on their website. No one can guarantee number 1 ranking on Google. And actually, to beware, they spell it out, beware of any agency that claims to guarantee rankings or have a special relationship with Google. I've talked to clients that have met somebody in a bar that said they worked for Google and hired them and spent 6 figures a year, and this person didn't know jack. SEO is so ambiguous. I almost liken it a lot of times, in the construction world, to you not knowing anything about building a house, and you call some guy and you're like, hey man, I need you to build me a house. And they say, yeah, no problem. I'll build it right now. And you don't look in, you don't know it, anything like that. And then you come back and you find this little teeny house like this, like on Zoolander. And what is this? A house for ants? Well, the same thing is with SEO. There's 200 ranking factors. So if I really wanted to be a scumbag, I could say, yeah, we're doing SEO for you guys. No problem. You're only doing this one thing, maybe you just set up some backlinks for them. And is that going to get them what they need? No. And I'll tell you, gosh, we talk to so many different companies across the US. It's almost like the same thing. They're bouncing around from agency to agency, but a lot of times when we do an analysis, and we do free analysis like 4 or 5 a day, most of the time people are paying for something that they're not getting. They're saying, yeah, we're doing somebody's doing SEO for you, but they're really not. They're missing everything out of it. So, just remember, don't let anybody guarantee you anything. So what is SEO? If you don't know already, SEO is the practice of ranking a quantity and a quality of traffic to your website through ranking your website higher and higher in the search engine, right? The organic results, the results that are under the maps. But you got to remember that SEO, the search engine algorithms change so much. Google rolls out core algorithm updates quite a bit. So you got to make sure that, if you are going to hire an agency, I want to run you through this. Make sure that you're not hiring somebody like, this is a service you're going to give me and you're going to send me leads. That's the wrong way to think about this. And we take a partnership approach here at our agency at Ironclad Restoration Marketing, because you have to evolve. There is no out the box way to make anything happen. Every company in every different region is going to be a different tactic, same basics. You have your basics in order, but there's going to be different amounts of content that need to be added. The competition's different from city to city. We're in South Florida. You try to rank something in Miami, good luck. It's highly competitive. We rank our clients down in Miami, but it's not easy. It's easier to rank in some podunk town in the middle of nowhere where there's maybe 2 or 3 other restoration companies. And I mean podunk as a term of endearment. I come from a podunk town, so I don't mean to insult anybody's town out there, but that's just the common sense, right? And the way you put it is, look, if you are a vintage Singer sewing machine repair shop in, Presque Isle, Maine, where I was born, right? There's a good chance there's not going to be a whole lot of other, vintage Singer sewing machine repair shops up there. So yeah, getting ranked is going to be a little bit easier than, if you were a potato farm up there. All right. So make sure you treat it as a partnership. So if we're looking at a search engine, the first thing you always see, no matter if it's mobile or on your desktop, is going to be your paid listings or pay-per-click. All right. Paid listings are great. And these 3 things right here that we're showing you, the maps listings in the middle, and the organic listing, the non-paid, this is the holy trinity of what you need to be doing. So if there's anything you take away from this entire podcast, it's remember this. You got to have an SEO strategy. And if you want to get leads from the internet for your website, you got to have an SEO strategy. You got to have a strategy to get ranked on Google Maps, and that's via Google My Business. And you should be running pay-per-click ads. All right. And the difference is with SEO can take months to get ranked, right? Depending on your competition. So what we do here, part of our program is we always are going to start with SEO. That's the foundation. We're always going to manage Google My Business because those 2 are non-paid. Those are going to give you the biggest return on investment when they finally click and you get in that 3-pack of the maps. But pay-per-click is going to get you leads now, right? So we know, hey, you're making a big investment in marketing. You're building a brand new website. You're doing SEO. Stuff's not cheap. So by coming up with some sort of pay-per-click budget, at least in the first couple months, it allows yourself to get some jobs coming in, get some revenue coming in for your company to justify spending money on marketing. And we used to, as an agency, talking about evolving, we used to only do SEO for people, right? And we were finding we killed it in the organic stuff. You're getting number 1 rankings for 2,000 keywords. But what we found is that without having that maps rankings as the algorithm's updated and you're not, getting these pay-per-click leads coming in, we're either having clients drop off and we're not delivering optimal results for our clients. So, it's important. You need to be doing all of this. But if you can afford, if you can't afford anything out of there, just knock the top off of that triangle and do these 2 things. Just remember, it's going to take a little bit longer to see a return on your investment. But man, once that rolls in, it is rolling, especially if you choose the right agency to handle your digital marketing, or you buy the book or you get the book and you do it yourself. Either way. All right. So how do you get listed in the organic section? Right here. This is the area below the maps, the non-paid listings. Well, I mentioned there's over 200 ranking factors. We're going to focus on the big ones, right? You got to keep the search engine happy. And you need to have a website. If you don't have a website, I guess you have nothing to rank. I've had a funny story. I've had a client, one client in particular, about 3 or 4 years ago, that was paying an agency for 2 years. They had a 2-year contract and they're like, yeah, they're doing SEO. And I'm like, all right, well, send me your website address. Well, we don't have a website. Okay, well, I don't know how somebody's doing search engine optimization for something that doesn't work. And that's it may sound like they're dumb for doing that, but I mean, it's so easy for guys that are in, service-based industry. I mean, doctors get ripped off a lot too with this kind of stuff. They're just getting preyed on. You got to make sure you have a mobile-first design. I told you Google switched to that mobile-first indexing a long time ago. So outside of a conversion perspective and an ease of access and getting people to call, you're not going to get ranked if you don't have a mobile-friendly website. And UX, the user experience, and your page speed of your website, how fast your website is a huge factor. It's always been a factor from a conversion standpoint because, you go to, I'm sure you've gone to, we go to a website and it just takes forever to load anything. You're going to just bounce off and go to somebody else's website. And Google realized that last year, I believe, it might have been last year or the end of 2020, they rolled out a major core algorithm update for UX, user experience. So, your page speed comes into play, and that goes with the hosting. So, if you're using WordPress hosting or some crappy, cheap hosting, listen, it's worth its weight in gold. Spend the money on a really good hosting platform that's tried and true. We actually have a partnership with a hosting company that has our own custom SEO optimized hosting built out to make the site have server-side caching, make the site just get delivered as quickly as possible. And then from a design perspective, our custom templates that we use here when we're developing a website, we base that off of case studies and what people are doing and what websites we have with what clients are converting the best. All right. You want to get ranked on a search engine, you got to have good, relevant content. Look, the search engine is just a big librarian, right? So if somebody's querying a search, whether they need property damage or they want to learn how to do it themselves, and you have that content on your website, guess what? You have a better chance of getting ranked, right? You have to have proper on-page optimization, the right kind of keywords and the right kind of content. And this is a little bit more on the technical side. We're going to breeze through that a little bit and dive into this a little bit more if anybody wants to learn. I do have a lot of other videos on YouTube that talk about on-page. Big one a lot of guys miss out on is if you want to get ranked for water damage restoration, you want to get ranks for mold removal or mold remediation, storm damage restoration, biohazard cleanup, whatever. You got to have a separate page on your website that's dedicated to that service. I cannot overstate that. You got to have at least 500 words of content on those pages because, and that number changes, but the minimum is you want is 500 words. If you're in a higher competitive, you're going to want more keyword-rich content. Build it out as much as possible. You should be blogging on a monthly basis, and you should have city landing pages. That's part of a solid SEO strategy is what we do here. The organic section. So just a brief overview. This is the technical backend stuff. So Google doesn't literally have people crawling websites to figure out who they're going to rank. They have scripts and bots that crawl websites millions a day. And the more every time you update your website and you submit it, if you're doing SEO properly, you submit it to Google Search Console, they're going to crawl your website again, and they're going to decide, okay, well, where does this fit? How do we file this website? And they look at the back end of your website. So if you've ever looked at a website and you've looked at the back end source code, that's how Google reads your website. So you have to make sure that back end stuff is built properly. It's really hard to do just from a hard coding perspective, but the beauty of using WordPress is there's all kinds of plugins that'll just do that work for you. So you go into each page, you set up your meta title, your meta descriptions, your meta keywords, all your H1 tags or H2 tags to teach Google how to properly file your website. So when you're looking at a search engine result, your ranking URL is the first thing you're going to see when somebody looks up water damage restoration in Dallas. The meta title is the title that goes right below that. And then you have the description. And all that stuff is coded in the back end of your website. You're not going to see that when you go to your website. That's all coded in the back end. So you got to make sure you have that in order. A lot of SEO agencies don't do this. Like, this is the most fundamental part of SEO. And I'm talking about it a lot because we see a lot of times they don't have this in order. I mentioned you got to have a minimum of 500 words of keyword-rich content for your service pages. So each one of your specific services that you want to rank for. And you should, within those pages, have internal and external links. So in your service page, you say, hey, mold is very dangerous. And then you link that to a blog on how dangerous mold can be. I mean, that's really good for your website. And even better, if you link that to a big high authority like the IICRC, if they have like a newsletter that talks about mold damage, that's great. That's internal link. It's linking inside your website. External, you're linking from somewhere else. Those are really good and they'll help you get ranked. So at least 500 words of content that are keyword specific to the service you want to get ranked for is at least the beginning of how you start getting ranked, right? And we talked about blogging. A lot of people miss the buck on this, but I'm telling you, you need to be doing it. If you're hiring an agency, they better be at least doing a blog a month. We do one blog a month for our clients. It seems to be good. Blogs help you rank for long tail keywords. And Google loves fresh content. Remember, I told you every time you add content to your website, you resubmit it, Google's forced to crawl your website again. The more time Google spends crawling your website, the more you're going to bear fruit from the work that you're doing, right? So blog at least one time a month. Mix up the blogs. So a long tail keyword is the goal with a blog for the most part. Short tail keywords is water damage restoration. Contractor, right? A long tail keyword would be what to do if your kitchen floods. and you have a blog that's value-based, it teaches people, hey, here's what you do, and here's the steps you need to take, and here's why it's important to hire a professional. And you think about every different type of service you want to get ranked for, and every different thing your market, who you're trying to market to, would be going onto a search engine, and have a blog that's relative to that. Just do it once a month. Your agency should be doing it at least once a month. City landing pages are something we do here. Not everybody does it, but it's how you're going to get ranked in all the different cities and sub-cities in your service area. All right. So if your service area, we'll just use South Florida as an example, is Palm Beach County, right? Well, within Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach is a big city. You got Boca Raton, Boynton, Jupiter, all these areas. So if you're serving those areas, you need to have content on your website if you want to rank in those areas for that type of service mixed with the city that you want to get ranked in. Okay. And if you're in the Northeast, you have townships or whatever, you're based in, if you're based in West Palm Beach and your service area goes all the way down to every border of Palm Beach County, then you should have 50 or 60 different city landing pages on there to be able to rank in the city with your services that are on there. Okay. So for an example would be a water damage restoration contractor in Dallas, Texas. And then you have another landing page, water damage restoration contractor in X, Texas, which might be literally in Dallas. It's just called something else. All right. Again, and that's adding fresh content to your site. We add multiple city pages per month for our clients. Another way you get listed in the organic section, or one of 200 ranking factors, are backlinks. And a backlink's just a link that's created when another website links to another. You got inbound and or incoming links. And you get those from business directory listings like Yelp and Yellow Pages, your social media profiles, having a directory listing on one of your industry associations, whether it's national or regional. Google's all about building authority. So the more websites that are saying, hey, here's a property damage restoration contractor, here they are, the more authority and the more link juice you're going to get out of this. And that's one of the parts of the strategies that we use to help our clients rank better on Google. We'll dive into this a little bit more when we talk about Google My Business and the NAP. So we'll recap. You want to get ranked in organic, you need a website. You need a website that's mobile optimized. You got to have a separate page for each one of your services. You got to make sure those pages have the proper on-page optimization. You got to have a mix of internal, external backlinks, have directory listings and different links that you're linking to other websites. And you should be adding content on a monthly basis and freshening up that content and forcing Google to crawl your website as much as possible. Now let's look at pay-per-click, PPC. I told you PPC is a big part of what we do in our program and our strategy to maximize the leads you're getting online. And again, pay-per-click is literally just you're bidding on keywords, you're getting placement at the very top of Google, the first thing that you see when you go on a search engine, and they're going to get you leads now. So I already told you SEO and Google My Business Management to get ranked into maps, it could take a long time. I mean, I've seen stuff get ranked in a couple of weeks. I've seen stuff, man, where we're plugging away at this thing for 4 or 5 months before we really get strong rankings. We get the low-hanging fruit in there, like vintage sewing machine shop. But the high, anything that's like kind of competitive, it's going to take a little longer. So while that's, taking time and you're building your authority on your website, which takes some time, pay-per-click's going to get you leads right now. So if you can afford it, it's 100% what we preach and what we do. It's the holy trinity: pay-per-click, Google My Business, and SEO to get those leads coming into your business. All right. And there's all kinds of, they do the Google Guarantee program. I don't know if that's still even viable. I know that we're having issues with it, but just Google Ads in general is a good idea for your restoration business. And how much to spend, I mean, it really depends. The big thing I will say with pay-per-click, people always ask us, what should we spend? If you're doing pay-per-click properly, or if you're working with an agency that's doing it right, you're going to be talking to them on a daily basis, right? So beware of anybody that just says, yeah, give us a budget, we'll just take care of it, and we'll show you the results at the end of the month. Don't do that. I've seen guys spend $10,000 a day. I've seen and accidentally, but I've seen guys spend $10,000 a day on purpose but get millions of dollars of jobs, like when a storm comes to a city that they want to bring a crew to. The big thing is make sure you're talking to your agency. When we bring on a pay-per-click client, we're talking to them quite a bit, because it's you're bidding on keywords. You got to figure out what the competition is going to be like, and every different place is going to be a different type. Every different season is going to be different. So it's raining a lot. The more people are trying to get those ad placements for water damage restoration, the higher that click is going to cost. So, if you're working intimately with your agency, you're going to be able to determine whether it's worth your money or not. But a lot of times, if you do it that way, to do it right, you're going to get jobs right away. It's leads right now. So it is a good spend of your money. It's always good to find that money in there to do pay-per-click. And it doesn't hurt, because you also are taking over the entirety of page one of Google at some point. And the good thing about pay-per-click is you can turn it on and turn it off as needed. So let's say you run pay-per-click for 3 months, and now your agency's got you ranked for every keyword you want to rank. You're number one in the map section, and you're like, dude, I'm getting all kinds of leads. They're coming from maps. Then you shut the pay-per-click off and save that money. All right, so it's a really great way, something we preach. We try to implement it in every one of our programs with our clients. So build your solid foundation with SEO. I guess I can't overstate this stuff, but remember, SEO can take months to get ranked. Pay-per-click's going to get you leads today, but you want to take over the entire first page of Google with maps, organics, ads. YouTube is a big one, and Google My Business. Now, Google Maps, the second most valuable place to rank your business is the Google Maps section, and you do so, it's right here, you do so with Google My Business, but most home services traffic comes from Maps results. One, it's based off proximity. So if you're looking for water damage restoration near me, well, here's 3 that are right next to you, and you can see them on the map. So people like to click on that stuff, and they're going to call those companies if they have all those other things in order. You just because you're there doesn't mean anything sometimes. You might not even have a phone number if you don't have your own claimed Google My Business. And on a mobile device, it's like a very prominent part of the results is the maps. Like nobody's going to look at the ads, as much. The maps is like the big thing on your phone. And again, I just mentioned that the prominent search. So how do you win on Google Maps? You got to have a Google My Business, and you have to have a verified Google My Business. So, if you're coming up with your marketing plan, a big part of it, if you don't already, is claim your Google My Business and verify it. A couple things, you're going to have to verify your address. They'll send you a postcard. They don't do PO boxes. So you have to have a brick and mortar location. Set up a Google business page. And again, this is part of our program. So optimizing that Google business page is huge, right? If you want to rank well on maps, you got to make sure you're filling it out 100%. You want to get your NAP in order, your name, address, and phone number. And nowadays, Google My Business, if you haven't noticed, is turned into like a social media account. We'll talk about that. So what is your NAP? Your NAP is what a lot of you probably wish you were doing right now, but it stands for name, address, and phone number. And it's important for your restoration business because it's how Google is going to help index your site and make sure that you're legitimate, right? So when you're setting up all these different online directories that we talked about before, like Yelp, Yellow Pages, your social media profiles, and especially with your Google My Business and your website, your name, address, and phone number has to be consistent across the board. You have to have exactly the same business name, address, whatever the address may be, across every one of those business directories to really benefit from getting higher rankings on Google, especially with Google My Business. And it's even as meticulous as if you have Avenue spelled out on your website, you better have Avenue spelled out on your Google My Business page and all your different online directories, okay? So you got to make sure you get your NAP in order. That's just a big part of having a verified and optimized Google My Business. And I told you, they're actually changing this a lot, but they've recently started treating your Google My Business page like a social media profile. Google wants you to stay right there. Their whole goal is to keep you on their platform. So as a business owner, it's become a really powerful tool to help you climb into rankings, into map rankings especially. And they have almost like it's a posting feature. You can show what's new, COVID-19 updates. You can do special offers if you want to offer coupons or free mold tests or whatever the case may be. And if you are managing social media profiles, it's really easy. Just whatever you put on Instagram, put it on your Google My Business post. They give you an area to learn more. So if you want to share one of your latest blogs or your Google My Business post, you can have a link right to your website. Remember, we want to drive all that traffic to your website so they pick up the phone and call you. You can put an offer. You can put some information on there with a call now button. I mean, it's great. But the more you manage it, the more you post, the more photos you add and post regularly, the higher you're going to climb in those maps rankings. You just make sure you build it out. Make sure you have all your services included. There's hundreds of sub-service categories now, and Google's always adding more. Make sure that's all there. But the big one, and what's going to separate you from your competition, is getting reviews on Google. And this is hard to do. People usually don't leave reviews unless they're pissed off. So as a restoration business owner, you know that it's tough to get a review. So a couple things on how we see like a 70% return on reviews. Look, you're going in and you're remediating catastrophic property damage. A lot of times these people are displaced. The best time to ask for a review is immediately when you're finished the job, provided you did a good job. And text them. You ask them there on the spot. You can make little rat cards. We like to make rat cards for our clients with QR codes. In your Google business page, there's a place where you can just generate a custom Google review. There's the link. Text the people that link and just say, hey, drop us a review. It would really help us out. You're going to see a pretty big return on that. But the more reviews you have on your Google My Business profile, the higher you're going to rank in the map section. You got to remember, you got to respond to those reviews, good or bad, right? If it's a fake review, you can report it. There's a whole appeal process, but either way, respond to all of them. Pretend that you're a customer service whiz. You may be a customer service whiz, and respond to the reviews. And here's a hack. If you can get them to leave a review, and let's just say it's somebody you've developed a really nice relationship with, and they're more than happy to leave you a review, they're gracious, have them leave the keywords of the review in their review. So if you did water damage restoration for them, make sure they say that. It will help you. Google doesn't care. A lot of guys, when they're responding to the reviews, they try to stuff all these keywords in there. It's a waste of time. Google doesn't care about that. They care about what the user's saying about you. All right. So if you want to win on Google Maps, have a verified Google My Business page. It's filled out properly. Make sure you're getting reviews, and make sure you're managing it like a social media account. Okay. Speaking of social media is the other big thing. Did you know you can leverage social media to get more repeat and referral business? Yep, it's true. You may not have people on Instagram and Facebook looking for property damage restoration contractors, but by being active on social media, you're showing off your work, you're showing before and afters, you're giving testimonials on there, and you're really branding yourself properly. And not to mention, all these social media profiles are great external links like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever social media profile you want to be on. Claim your business profile. Be active on it if you have the time. Don't pay somebody to manage your social media for you unless they're in-house taking pictures on your jobs. Just get some posts up, post your blog, post a before and after of jobs, document jobs from start to finish. But make sure you at least claim these profiles outside of keeping your competition from stealing your name or taking your Facebook over or anything like that. These are really important branded assets that are tangible assets that are worth money. So if your goal is to build a $5 million a year restoration business and sell it to somebody, man, if you have a fully built out every social media profile, you own your domain, you own all these things, it just helps you in the long run. And the really nice high authority websites to give you backlinks to your site. So what do you post, right? If you follow me on my Ironclad Restoration Marketing account, I post every single day. Most of the time is value-based content. I rarely ever ask for a sale because my goal is to teach you how to really do your internet marketing properly. But for you, the restoration business owner, post things that are relative to the type of jobs that you want to get. You can show off before and afters, like I told you. Teach somebody something. Remember I talked about blogs and said, a blog title could be what to do if you find mold in your bathroom. Well, if you put a blog like that on your website, then you go on your phone and you record yourself and you say, hey, here's what you do from start to finish. You provide value. You post that video on YouTube. You post that video on social media. You link it to your blog. You're syndicating that content. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck out of that one little piece of content. It's what we do here. Every time I record every single one of these videos on Instagram, we syndicate it. And syndication is a big part of this. We put it on a blog. We put it on every single channel we are on. We're taking that on the channel approach. And you should use video to engage. Don't overthink it. A lot of people think you got to have all the special cameras and spend all kinds of money. Hell no. If you think of something that's relative to your clients, it's going to resonate with your target market, pull your phone out and talk. If you're doing a job that's like the worst kitchen fire you've ever seen, people are just terrible. You show before and you document this before and after and you're posting that stuff on social media. That's so powerful when you're talking about converting traffic. People are going to vet you out. Of course, people are going to look at your reviews. They're going to look at your work that you do. So man, having that kind of stuff and having a video is huge. People are more apt to watch a video as well. You can get case studies, you get video testimonials from people, everything. And you don't need to overproduce it. Just capture their attention immediately. People are very ADD nowadays. Just want to capture their attention immediately. Something striking. Remember, if you're going to post it online, they're just scrolling through really fast. You got to have something that's going to stop them in their tracks and watch it. But more so syndicate that content. If you're going to take the time to make a video, put it everywhere. All right. To squeeze as much juice out of that lemon as you can. And remember, never buy social media followers. It's a waste of money. You can get your accounts flagged. And quite frankly, it's kind of dumb because let's say social media is all about authenticity. It's a two-way street. It's a lot about engagement, right? It's engaging with your user base. It's showing off what you're doing. And if you're buying followers, you're buying fake accounts. All right. So let's say you're the guy that you make a lot of money off of running Facebook ads for your restoration business, right? Well, guess who we're a big majority. If you have 10,000 followers, 2,000 are legitimate, 8,000 are fake. You're wasting money and just showing this ad to a bunch of fake people. And not only that, when you put a post up and you get like one like, but you have like 30,000 followers, people are going to know that. And there are some weird people that go out there and look at who's following you and stuff like that. Just don't waste the money. Remember, your social media is a leverage for repeat and referral business to show off your work, build trust with your target market. So don't worry about how many followers you have. Worry about the quality of content that you're putting out there and consistency of the content. Okay. And it's about that. It's consistency, right? Which leads us to, what we talked about is the omnipresence method. You need to be omnipresent, right? I just mentioned, guys that spend a lot of money on Facebook ads. They get most of their leads from Facebook, but they really neglect their website. They don't have a Google My Business. Well, guess what? Last year, Facebook and Instagram went down for a couple of days. What do you think those guys did? They were shit out of luck. They're not making any money. They're not getting no leads. Those ads are getting banned. Not only that, but during the COVID year, I don't know if any of you were running Facebook ads, but we ran into this roadblock so much. Because of COVID, people were working remote. At your companies, they probably did the same thing. Schools were doing it. Well, guess what? At Facebook, they did the same thing. So Facebook and Google turned on their AI to scan and approve ads. Well, AI is a computer that has to learn. And what was happening is ads that were running for years, that were running for clients, were getting flagged and taken down. Well, if we didn't take an omnichannel approach to this, we would have been doing a disservice to our clients. So you want to dominate all the different areas online that your target market focuses on, which is going to be search engines, it's going to be social media, and maybe YouTube if people are trying to learn and DIY stuff like I do. So you don't want to put all your eggs in your basket, because remember, a lot of this stuff is services. That's why we use WordPress versus Wix. Wix can go out of business just like that. Google could go down. It can happen. So if you're only relying on SEO, Google My Business, and pay-per-click, guess what? When Google goes down, you're screwed. Or let's say they run a huge algorithm update and there's a bug in the algorithm and they take all your rankings down, and your agency doesn't realize this for 3 weeks and you're wondering why your phone's not ringing. Well, if you're omnipresent, you don't have to worry about that as much, because you've got fail safes and you're everywhere. You're omnipresent. You've taken this omnichannel approach. Make sure you have a website. Make sure your marketing strategy includes SEO, pay-per-click, and Google My Business. Be active on social media. Network on LinkedIn. Join all your industry associations. When the associations start running their trade shows or they're doing meetups, go to them. Learn as much as you can. Meet as many people as you can. Get the referral work. Get the repeat work. Get work from social media, get work from your website. You just want a perpetual pipeline of leads and be consistent. Use our omnipresence method. This is what works for our clients. We wouldn't have any clients if this stuff didn't work. We don't have a sales floor. We're not churning and burning people. We made this podcast to teach you how to do this stuff yourself. And I can't overstate it. Do this stuff. Be omnipresent for your restoration business. All right. So it's been about an hour. I think that's a good stopping point for this first podcast. We gave you an overview. We set some goals. So at the end of this, when you're sitting down tonight, you might be listening to us in the car, on your phone, at the gym. Let's spell out what your goals are for the year, and let's concentrate on revenue. Let's concentrate on your closing percentage and your conversion percentage. If you don't already have those numbers, work on a plan to be able to develop those numbers over the next couple weeks. Make sure you have a stopping point, quarterly, monthly, weekly, to be able to track and measure what's happening and then optimize them to make sure that you hit those revenue goals at the end of the year. I want to see you double or triple your sales this year. And I'd love some feedback as well. So you can shoot us a DM, you can comment here. Just let us know what's going on. I'd love to know and make sure that you're implementing this stuff, and we can hold you accountable. All right. If you don't already know, spend a little bit of time, workshop this. It's worth it. Figure out who your target client is, right? Some of you guys might want to go after property managers. Everybody wants the homeowner with property damage. Take that omni-channel approach with that as well. Target everybody and make sure you understand how you're going to market to them. Build a website that's made to convert. Make sure you have the big 3 in order: logo, phone number, USP, all above the fold. All the important information there. Make sure you have a mobile website. If you're going to spend any money on marketing, guys, implement SEO, Google My Business Management for those Google Maps rankings, and pay-per-click. All right. You got to get ranked on Google Maps nowadays. They just, in the middle of December, another core algorithm came out for proximity for Google Maps. Google knows where people are finding services and products. They're either going to try to monetize that or make it more difficult for people, because they want to make sure that you're a legitimate business and you're serving their user base exactly what they want in the fastest, most relevant way possible. Learn how to leverage social media. We talked a little bit about it. Post before and after, just be active. You don't have to post 5 days a week like I do. Post once a week, post 3 times a week. Whatever you do, be consistent with it. This goes for all of your marketing. Consistency is the key with anything you're going to do. So if you're setting these goals, if you're consistent, you have an execution plan, you're measuring results, you're going to be successful. You're going to make multiple 7 figures for your restoration business. You're going to double your revenue from last year. You might just be getting started. You're going to kick some ass. You're going to make whatever your revenue target is. You are going to do it if you follow these 7 principles. And the most important one is be omnipresent this year. Get yourself everywhere. Start your own podcast. Start a video channel on YouTube. Teach people how to remediate mold. Teach people about all the different types of mold. Whatever it is, whatever you're going to do, make sure you syndicate that content, squeeze that lemon out for as much juice as you can get out of it. It'll be in your benefit. The little bit of work that you put into this is going to go a long way. All right. So what are the first things you're going to do to crush 2022? Well, I hope it's making a plan, and I hope it's implementing SEO, pay-per-click, and Google My Business, and starting with social media. If you have your own ideas, I'd love to hear about them, but that's what I want you to do. And I mentioned this at the beginning. We have a checklist. It's absolutely free. I'd love to be able to give you this checklist. It's basically a checklist that we use here for all of our clients. It covers everything we talked about today to reaffirm that you're on the right track. And you may have missed one of these things in here, but it covers everything from top to bottom of what you need to be doing, at least at the minimum, to make sure that you're maximizing your online visibility. You can get that on our website at ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. Well, that was an awesome first episode. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of it. I want you to follow us, subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you stream. We're there. There's so many streaming services out there. I don't even know. There's like 30 of them that we're on right now. We're going to be going live for all of our podcasts on YouTube and LinkedIn. We have some really special guests coming up I'm really excited about. We're going to teach you everything related to growing your restoration business with the Restoration Rundown podcast. That's our purpose. If you ever want to be a guest on our podcast, I'd love to hear from you. We're going to have a lot of success stories. I'd love to learn about, things that you're doing, whether it's what type of software you're using, what agencies you're using, what has worked and not worked in the past, because we want to develop a culture of success and a community in the restoration industry to make sure that if you're going to get into this business, one, you're doing the right thing by the people that you're doing the work for, and you're doing the right thing by your business by setting your best foot forward and making sure that you're on the right track, that you do not fail. All right. Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, that old cliche word. And if you have any questions for me, you can reach me at our website, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. Follow us on Instagram. I'm on there running my mouth every single day. You can follow us on Facebook. Shoot me a DM. Shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. That is it for the first episode of Restoration Rundown Podcast. I really want to thank you guys for stopping in today. My name is Ben Riccardi, the host of the Restoration Rundown Podcast. The podcast is dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. We will talk to you soon. Take it easy.